Have you ever been humiliated by someone you loved and thought you'd never recover? I did. I want to tell you the story of my ex-husband, how he tried to break me, and how God turned my pain into glory. You won't believe what happened next.
Hi, my name is Aaliyah Johnson, and I'm from Atlanta. I never thought I'd be sharing something so personal, but I believe my story can inspire someone out there. This is about my ex-husband, the man I once loved with my whole heart. A man I thought would protect me, cherish me, but instead he almost destroyed me. I grew up alone, orphaned, without parents to guide me. Life was already hard, and I learned very early that I had to fight for myself. When I was 25, I met Marcus at work. He was charming, confident, and I was drawn to him instantly. I was innocent, naive, a virgin who believed in love, not realizing how cruel the world could be. Marcus already had a son from another woman. Some might have seen that as a red flag, but I didn't care. I loved him completely. For 3 years, we dated, laughed, and shared our lives. But even then, I noticed things I chose to ignore. The way he secretly chatted with women on his phone, how he constantly badmouthed his baby mama. My heart wanted to believe love could cover it all. Marcus had a way with words. Sweet, flattering words that made me feel special, that made me believe he loved only me. He convinced me to give him everything, my trust, my time, even my savings. I thought love meant sacrifice, but I didn't see how manipulation worked until it was too late. I was blinded by passion and hope. After we got married, life didn't get better. In fact, it got worse. 2 years passed, and I couldn't conceive. He started calling me Barren, humiliating me in front of everyone, even his friends. Each insult tore me apart, but I stayed hoping things would change. I prayed silently, asking God to give me patience. Every time I suggested going to a doctor, he refused. He said, "I'm not the problem. I already have a son. It's you who's barren." His words felt like fire in my chest. I started questioning myself, wondering if there was something wrong with me. But deep down, I felt I couldn't give up. Eventually, I went to the hospital secretly. The doctor ran tests, and the news changed everything. I was perfectly healthy. My eggs were fine. There was nothing wrong with me at all. For a moment, I felt relief mixed with anger. How could he accuse me for so long? When I confronted Marcus with this news, he didn't care. "I already have evidence that I'm fertile," he scoffed. No apology, no shame, just more anger, more contempt. His drinking and late-night disappearances continued, and the humiliation never stopped. I felt trapped, exhausted, and heartbroken. Marcus even started bringing other women to our home. I cooked for his son, loved him like my own, and in return I got insults, neglect, and lies. Every day became a battle between my heart and my pain, but I refused to give up hope. I prayed constantly, asking God to take control of my life. Then came the day he lost control. He came home furious, shouting at me, "You amount to nothing. You're barren. You're a man." My knees went weak. Tears blurred my vision. I had nowhere to turn, nowhere to hide. My life, the one I thought I built with love, crumbled in front of me. He said he would marry someone fertile and left me on the street. I had no friends, no family, no place to stay. I sat on the curb, soaked in tears, feeling the cold bite of humiliation. For the first time, I truly felt helpless, lost, and abandoned. Then a sleek luxury car pulled up. The window rolled down, and a kind billionaire, Derek Harris, asked if I was okay. His voice was calm, strong, and filled with concern. I felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in years. He took me to his mansion, fed me, gave me clothes and a safe place to stay. For the first time, I felt valued. Derek never judged me. He only offered kindness. My heart slowly began to heal, and I dared to dream of happiness again. Months later, Derek proposed with a sparkling diamond ring. I said yes with tears in my eyes. Life finally seemed to make sense. Soon after, we were blessed with twin daughters. I felt like the luckiest woman alive, safe, loved, and cherished. Then, 2 years later, I received an invitation to Marcus's wedding. I knew instantly he wanted to humiliate me to prove I was nothing. My heart pounded, but I felt no fear, only a quiet, simmering confidence.
Marcus had told his bride he would embarrass me, expecting me to show up weak, broken. I told Derek, who just smiled and said, "We're going to show him that God is the finisher of all things. Go honor yourself." His words filled me with courage I hadn't felt in years. On the wedding day, we arrived in a pristine white limousine. I had my twins with me, elegantly dressed, holding my hands. Marcus's jaw literally dropped when he saw us. I could see the shock and disbelief in his eyes. It was the first time I felt completely untouchable. He couldn't believe what he saw. The woman he wanted to humiliate glowed with beauty and confidence. My heart felt lighter than ever, filled with triumph, not revenge. His new bride looked at me with confusion, fear, and jealousy. She had expected a weak, humiliated woman, but instead saw a queen, radiant and untouchable. The atmosphere shifted. Whispers and gasps filled the room. As we entered the wedding hall, the entire room went silent. Every guest, every face turned toward me and my twins. I felt their eyes on us, not with pity, but with awe. I could see Marcus's mouth slightly open, his ego collapsing right in front of me. My heart raced, but it wasn't fear. It was triumph. The twins waved shyly at the guests, and suddenly the tension in the room began to crack. Their innocence, their beauty, made the atmosphere lighter, yet it highlighted the irony. Marcus thought he could humiliate me, but his plan was crumbling. I felt a quiet satisfaction. Marcus tried to maintain composure, but I could see the panic in his eyes. His bride clutched his arm nervously. Who are they?" she whispered, her voice shaking. I almost laughed. I was the answer to everything he underestimated. I could feel every eye on me as I walked past the aisle, the twins beside me. I imagined all the moments Marcus humiliated me, flashing in my mind, the insults, the lies, the nights I cried on the floor, but I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt peace and triumph. Marcus tried to speak, but no words came out. His mouth moved, and I could see the panic in his eyes. It was almost satisfying to watch the man who tried to break me feel powerless. I realized in that moment revenge was unnecessary. My life itself was my victory. I looked around the room and caught Derek's eye. He smiled at me, proud and reassuring. I felt a wave of gratitude. Without him, I wouldn't be standing there like this, radiant, confident, and happy. Marcus's bride tried to maintain composure, but I saw her jealousy growing with every step I took. She expected a weak woman, someone defeated, but I was stronger than anyone in that room, stronger than I had ever been. The photographer captured every moment, the glances, the whispers, the shock. I imagined these pictures being shared, telling the world what Marcus had underestimated. I held my head high, proud of the life I had rebuilt. I could hear Marcus muttering in his breath, trying to convince himself that this was just luck. But I knew better. This was God's timing, God's plan. Everything he had taken from me had been restored tenfold. One of the guests finally approached me, whispering, "You look amazing, and those twins are beautiful." I smiled warmly. For the first time, I realized I had nothing to prove, nothing to beg for. My happiness was visible to the world. Marcus's bride whispered, "Why is she here like this?" I paused for a second, letting the weight of the question settle. The answer was simple. God had brought me here. I didn't need to explain. My presence was my statement.
Marcus tried to recover his dignity, clearing his throat, but the words sounded hollow. I could feel the tension in the room, the disbelief and admiration mixing together. I realized people were silently rooting for me. I wasn't alone anymore. I knelt down to adjust my twins' dresses, and they looked up at me, their smiles lighting up the room. My heart swelled with love. These were my blessings, my treasures. No humiliation from Marcus could touch the joy I felt right now. Marcus tried to speak again, but this time I could see the panic fully in his eyes. The room had shifted. He no longer commanded attention. Instead, I had it, naturally, without effort, just by being myself. I walked past Marcus, letting my eyes meet his for a brief moment. No words, no threats, no tears. Just silence. The message was clear. I was no longer the woman he could control. I was free, victorious, and loved. Marcus's new bride leaned toward him, whispering with fear and confusion. I thought she had nothing. She was nobody. Why is she here like this? I could hear her voice trembling, her disbelief spilling out. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. My life, my happiness, and my twins were answering her question loud and clear. Derek squeezed my hand gently, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "You've worked too hard for this moment. Just enjoy it." I smiled, feeling a warmth and safety I had never known with Marcus. My twins giggled beside me, holding on to both of us. That moment was perfect. Our little family shining in the spotlight of our victory. We walked to our seats gracefully, the twins leading the way. Every step was a silent proclamation. I was no longer powerless. I was loved, respected, and thriving. Marcus couldn't hide the shame on his face. His plan to humiliate me had completely backfired. I felt the whispers around the room, the astonishment in every glance. My presence alone spoke louder than any words I could have said. Marcus's bride shifted uncomfortably in her seat, realizing the woman she thought was weak and broken was radiant and untouchable. Derek wrapped his arm around me protectively, kissed my forehead, and said, "See, this is your moment. Enjoy it." I smiled, feeling the steady beat of his heart and the certainty that I was safe. My past humiliation, my pain, my tears, all of it had led to this moment of triumph. Marcus looked at me with a mix of envy, regret, and shame. He realized the woman he tried to destroy had risen higher than he could ever dream. I met his gaze briefly and smiled, not out of revenge, but out of quiet satisfaction. God had vindicated me. His bride whispered again, this time louder. How is she like this? We thought she had nothing. She was nobody." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. I simply held my twins, looked at Derek, and let our happiness speak for itself. That happiness was worth more than any insult Marcus had ever thrown at me. Swelled. This was the moment I had prayed for: validation, love, and peace. Marcus's humiliation was complete. Not because I sought it, but because life had restored what he had tried to take from me. Marcus sank into his seat, powerless. He tried to look composed, but the shame was written all over his face. He wanted to make me feel worthless, but instead I shone brighter than ever. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. I looked around the room, every eye on me, every whisper filled with astonishment. I felt a mix of relief and triumph, knowing the story had completely turned in my favor. No amount of cruelty from Marcus could touch the joy I felt with Derek and my children. Derek wrapped his arm closer and whispered, "This is the proof that God never forgets your tears." I nodded, tears of gratitude in my eyes. I had endured heartbreak, betrayal, and humiliation, but I had also survived, and now I was thriving. I could see Marcus struggling to hide his envy. Every insult he had thrown, every tear he had caused, had led him here, to watch me rise higher than he ever imagined. And I didn't even have to say a word. My life itself was my answer. I held my twins close and whispered, "See, babies, Mommy is happy now. No one can take our joy." They giggled, not fully understanding, but feeling the love. That laughter was music to my ears, the sound of victory, peace, and life restored.
Marcus's bride tried to look away, but she couldn't. She realized the woman she had underestimated was now untouchable. And Marcus, he had no words, no power, just shame. I felt neither hatred nor gloating, only peace. Derek kissed my forehead, whispered again, and smiled. This is your life. Enjoy every second of it. I leaned into him, feeling every ounce of love, safety, and triumph. I had survived the storm, and now the sun was shining brighter than ever. Finally, I looked back at Marcus one last time. He had no words, no power, only regret. That was the ultimate satisfaction. He could have humiliated me, but instead life had humbled him, and I didn't need to say a thing. I whispered to Derek, "It's time." He nodded, and we stood up, holding the twins' hands. I felt the strength in my legs, the certainty in my heart. We were leaving behind the pain, the shame, and the people who tried to destroy me. As we walked toward the exit, the whispers grew louder. But I didn't care. The luxury limousine waited outside, gleaming in the sunlight. This wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of our new life, our freedom, and our triumph. We stepped into the limousine together. Derek kissed my cheek, the twins giggling beside us. I leaned back, feeling the leather seat, the hum of the engine, and the certainty that I was finally safe, loved, and in control of my life.
Marcus watched us leave from the hall entrance. I could feel his regret radiating through the glass. He had thought he could humiliate me, break me, and erase me, but here I was, radiant, happy, and untouchable. The twins waved happily at the departing guests. Their laughter echoed through the air, a joyful reminder that life is about love, not revenge. I held their little hands tightly, feeling the fullness of life in my chest. Derek wrapped his arm around me, whispering, "We've arrived at the life you deserve." I closed my eyes and let myself feel it. All the pain, all the tears, leading to this perfect moment of peace and joy. I thought back to all the nights I cried alone, all the insults Marcus hurled at me, and I realized something important. None of it defined me. My worth was never in his hands. It was in God's. Derek squeezed my hand again. "You've endured so much, and now you get to live the life you were always meant to have." I smiled through tears of happiness. I had everything. Love, family, peace, and dignity restored. We drove through the city, lights reflecting off the car, music softly playing. I looked at Derek and whispered, "Thank you for making me feel like a queen." He smiled, kissed my hand, and said, "This is only the beginning." I realized in that moment that life had a way of turning pain into power. The humiliation, the heartbreak, the loneliness, it had all prepared me for this triumph, and I felt a peace I had never known before. Marcus would stay behind at the wedding, left with regret, shame, and the realization that he had lost everything that truly mattered. But I didn't feel joy in his pain. I felt gratitude for my blessings, for my family, and for the life I had rebuilt. As we drove away, I whispered to Derek and the twins, "God never forgets your tears. He restores what was lost, and sometimes He gives more than you ever dreamed." Life had tested me, broken me, and then lifted me higher than I could have imagined. Never let anyone define your worth. Your life, your happiness, and your peace are yours to claim. Thank you for watching my story and letting me share my journey. I hope it inspires you to never let anyone define your worth and to always trust that better days are ahead. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring real-life stories that remind us that faith, strength, and perseverance always win.